If you like this video, make sure to visit our Vimeo page and follow us to get the latest update.
Okay, so hello everyone. So just maybe I will start with a quick introduction of mine. Then maybe we'll just try to know each other first before we get started on this training, right? So my name is Jeet. So I'm just trying to help you guys on the collection management module. So I have been working with SAP for the last 15 years, right? And in most of the companies, right, we had used this management module. So it has evolved over the years as we move on from the ECC to the S4 HANA version. So I will be trying my level best to explain you the difference between the different versions as well, and how you can configure for which scenarios, and we will be making it more interactive, right, so that you can apply the knowledge directly when you are working, right, in your organization. So that would be the strategy for the training. uh, so maybe, so that was a brief background of myself. So first of all, right, so starting off with this collections management module, right? So the main focus here is to ensure that whatever are those maybe the outstanding with the customers, right, so we are able to collect on time, right? So that is the primary focus. So we will discuss about when we go through this, right, we will start with the very basics. Like first of all, which are the maybe the BTEs which are which are maybe you need to activate them. This should be already there in your system if you are using the collection management, but it's better to know that, like for example, when you are going through a system refresh, or when maybe you are going through some system upgrades, right, so you need to have this checkpoints ready, right, in your checklist, to ensure that this, at least this activation step is not missed out, right? So that's the reason I also put this together in the slides, just to be 100% sure that we have this also covered. So basically, what SAP does is it has already provided this kind of in its application patches, right? Even in the S4 HANA, it has kind of pre-configured few of the modules. Like for example, for the collection management, right? You can see that maybe when I go through the system, it right. So actually, we are here. We are at the like collections management over here, and here you can see, right. So there are these two tabs. So we will go through this, but before that, as a prerequisite, right. So here, first you need to activate this collections management, correct? Right. So here, basically, what it does is basically SAP has this business transaction events, where as you know, right, in the collection management, first of all, you need to ensure that your all the business partners from which you are collecting, like right, they are extended to the collection segments, and also the data flows into this module of collection management, and also there are subsequent functions that we will be discussing. So for that, right, this particular component has to be active. Clear? So it's very straightforward. So basically, you are having this collection management module which is activated. So this would be your first step of the configuration, right? So and once you do this, right, it will also, maybe you need to also ensure that the company codes are also activated for the collection management, correct? So for example, you can have multiple company codes which are there in your organization, and maybe you will be using this collection management module for few of them, or maybe for all of them. So that also can be done over here, right? So now, what do we mean by that? So let's get in touch with this one. So basically, here you have the company codes. So here you can see that, let's say for like in our training system, right, we have two company codes for which the collection management module is activated. So what does that mean, right? So that means basically you are transferring the data from your ER, right, which is for example your FBL 5 and report, where you have all your collections data which comes up. So you are transferring the data from AR into this collection management module. Okay, so how do you achieve that? So first you activate this basic settings over here, right? So like for example, you have defined the company codes for which your collections management is active, correct? Right, and then what you do is you set up the distributions rules per company code over here. Okay, So for example, here previously I shown, right? So there were two company codes for which you had this collection management being activated, correct? So now this is the company code 1710 that we are looking for. And here basically which type of items or maybe which type of information are flowing from, you define it over here. For example, here, right, there in the customer master, right, we'll be seeing later on as well. So there is an option kind of having a branch office or kind of a head office if that function is activated. And you can also have some alternate pair, right? For example, you have generated just giving an example from the airlines industry. Let's say uh, you may be generating an invoice for the maybe the headquarters in a particular region, right? And then maybe the payment can be either done from the headquarters or maybe to the from the ship to party, right? So where actually you are maybe sending the goods, so they can also do the payment from, right? So I'm talking about a scenario where we are in an airlines catering industry, and where you are trying to basically there are different kind of airports, right, where we are kind of delivering the food or something like that. So from there, right, so either you can take the payment from the particular shipping location where you are delivering it, or it can be also paid from the head office, right? Which is, for example, maybe you're in Germany, so let's say you are delivering to the Dusseldorf airport, and maybe the headquarters are located at Frankfurt, right? So from Frankfurt, maybe you may be kind of doing the follow-ups with them, right? So all those items, right, which are due from the head office, those will be transferred across to your collections management, and on those only the collection specialist will follow, right?
So what happens if there is like 4 or 5 company codes?
Yeah, so you can have more company codes over here, so so the data will flow into the collection management module for all those entity
Okay.
codes, right?
So I mean, like, I mean, like, when we activate this collection management, right? You said like the BP. Is there a new, I mean,
Yeah,
like, role that's going to get created in BP?
yes, definitely. So so basically when you activate this collection management, right, so okay, let me just discuss that as well. Okay, so for example here, right, what I'm telling is, okay, so first I talk about this FICM over here, right? So now this is activated, right? So once you activate this, these are the company codes, correct? So before going to the, I have not gone into the org structure yet, so that's the reason I didn't come into the BP part at the moment. So now once you transfer this to the company code, right? Like maybe once you activate this for this company code, right? So you need to first inform, right, for which are the data, correct? So data will flow from where? From the AR module, correct? Now from AR module, it will flow like which items gets transferred. Maybe I have just maybe talk about the concept of the head office and the branch office, and with the example which I have taken, right? Maybe the head office is at Frankfurt, and it can have branch office as Dusseldorf or Frankfurt or any other airports, right? So, so basically you can configure them, right? But that means these are all customer numbers. Coming back straight to the point, right, which you had, right? How do you know that this customer is a head office or this is a branch office, right? So basically, when we go into the customer, right, we will see that first you have the general data, correct? You have the company code data, right? And then you also have the collection segment data. Okay.
I mean, the collection
So
segment will be activated once you activate this, right? There's no collection.
yeah, so yes, so right now we have not configured yet the collection segment, so we will come to that once we maybe proceed a little bit on the configuration. So with this collection segment data, right, you will have some details about the collection segment for this particular customer.
Okay. So because I'm thinking about the impacts, right? Because like
Mhm,
when we activate this module, right, there is going to be like
mhm.
thousands of existing customer for which we need to maintain this collection segment,
Yes, right, correct.
right? That
and
that is
and
what
and
I'm interested about.
Yeah, so there is a batch job which can be set up for this. So where the whenever it is extended to the company code, we will be setting up the rules as well, definitely. And also there can be an extension which can be set to this collection segment,
Okay.
right? So you need not do it manually, but yes, this step is mandatory to be done. So in order to
Yeah,
use it
it's
for
a
the
part of
collection,
a cutover activity, right? We can choose to
yeah,
do
yeah.
it through LSMW or whatever. Yeah.
Not in SMW. Basically, there are batch jobs which SAP standard
Okay.
have already available, so you can use it. Okay. That should be fine. So basically, once you activate those badges, what will happen? Any new customer which is created for that company code. So first, the system will check, right? So whether this particular company code, like for example, the customer is extended to this company code or not. So now, if it's extended to this company code, it again goes back here whether the collection management module is activated for that company code or not. So then if it's activated, right, then it check like which are the open items which needs to be transferred into collection management, and based on that it will do that. Okay, is it clear, this part? So with this, right, I can maybe we just proceed ahead with the next part. Like, so now we know that, do you want to call, because I think previously what I understood, right, you are already aware of the org structure, but do you want to cover that maybe
No,
initially?
no, I don't think so. Venkat, do you want to go through our structure?
No, I'm I'm okay with. I mean, not going through the org structure.
Yeah, yeah, so that's the reason I didn't also keep it in my agenda.
Mhm.
Okay, so now the thing is we just go directly to the maybe the collections rules or the
I have
strategy, because
one
that,
question. So,
yeah, sure.
do we need to activate any business functions, or since it's already appearing in this pro, we don't need to do it, right?
Yeah, so we have already done so that's the reason I have maybe put this slide, so that when you go for like refresh, upgrade, or kind of implementation, right, you do not miss out on this step. So please have
Okay,
a look out for this.
got it.
Okay, so
Okay,
you must ensure just to be on a safer side, right? So let's have a quick look as well through this one. So here you are activating it. Okay, like, so it's basically FDM cust 08. Okay, so here basically you have this application activated.
okay,
Okay, and it's kind of a it's a basically transaction driven, as you know, right? Which are the transactions where the collection management module is being hit? For example, master data, right? And then the transfer of the line items, it's a separate, it is not included in your posting event, right? For example, I think the 1030 or 1120, these are the standard business transaction. Even when you post a document or change a document, at that time it is not being hit, but rather you are having a separate kind of job or separate event where you transfer the open items to this collection management module. Okay, so this is kind of, this application have to be activated before you start using it.
So, Jit, one question. So here we are talking about only the collections management, right? So,
Yeah.
but overall on FSCM, there are other lot of sub modules, right?
Yeah, the dispute management. Yeah.
Correct. So when we activate the FSCM as a whole, or is just the activation of the collections management?
Yeah, I will come to that also one
Okay.
by one. Yeah,
Okay.
not to worry about that. So it will be, you will be like, yeah, first you activate this collection management, and then you have certain steps which needs to be done for the other modules as well.
I see. Okay. So which
But
you'll
the
be.
but the parent module is this one, I would say, because
Mhm.
if the collection management is not there, how will the work, maybe the collection specialist raise disputes against that collection note, right? Or maybe
Okay.
how will you raise a promise to pay for a particular collection item in the work list. So this
Okay.
has to be activated first, and then the subsequent steps will follow.
Okay.
Okay,
Which
so
we'll
it's
be
kind of
seeing it in the.
interrelated.
Okay. So
Yeah,
which we'll be seeing it in the further sessions, right? Okay.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So yeah, okay. So with this, right, so with this brief background, let's move on to the basic rules. I think here I would need some your help. So now in your system, right, like, is it like all the open items are transferred to the collection agency, or how do you, like, what is the basic strategy which you use, like, when you transfer this, some of the open items to the collection agency for collection, right? So there has to be some kind of basic rules, right, which you set up. Like what is the criteria? Or maybe I will just maybe define my question more clearly. Like maybe so. Let's say in your FI, right? Here, right? In your FIAR, right? So there are kind of maybe different types of customers, right? So
Mhm.
maybe some are corporate customers, right? Corporate customers. There can be some B2B business, so you can have individual customers. Then you have the government maybe customers as well, right? Let's say we just talk about very simple scenario like this three, right? So now, for which are the customers you want to do this activate this collection management module? So if for following up with this two, or maybe all these three, or like what is the current strategy which you have on this?
See, the way customers we have segmented, right, in Splunk, Jeet, right? We
Mhm.
don't have it like a, individual customer, or so
Mhm.
we have basically three models. So one is that a direct customer, and then we use this distributor and reseller model as well, right? So there are
Yeah,
those are the two-tier models and three-tier models, right? So one is
yeah,
direct, one is with the distributor and
distributor.
reseller,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? So I think those are the key segregations we use it here. We don't have anything like a corporate customer or
Okay, got it. So in this case, that means either it's kind of you're selling this directly to the end customer, or it can be a distributor, right?
correct,
So so in this case, right? So you have kind of certain agreed terms and conditions for the maybe for the payment, right? Let's say in every 90 days or 30 days, something like that. And here it is more like based on the individual contract basis, right? With the direct.
correct. So we have all kind of payment terms, right? Net 90,
Yeah.
45. There are a lot of payment terms in SAP, right? It depends on the
Hmm.
deal. And based on
Hmm.
the deal on case to case basis, the payment terms is set up. It's coming in from the
Right.
upstream, right? Sales decides at what payment terms they want to sell it to the customer.
Okay. Now the collection management module, right? It only comes in where the items are overdue.
Mhm.
Items are overdue. Now, let's say if you're talking that like this distribution follows a 30 days payment
Mhm.
term, right? So then, basically, collection agencies means you will also incur some cost, right? Additional, whether it's in-sourced or outsourced, there will be some kind of headcounts who are working on this collection for this
Mhm.
particular thing, right? So definitely that means there you need not follow for all the items, but there will be specific items, maybe a certain order value or certain for which you will be doing this follow up, correct? Right? For example, it can be more than maybe 1,000 USD, like just a basic one. Just maybe it this has to be the open item value at minimum on
Mhm.
which you will be doing the follow up, correct? So
So
now
you,
the thing is, yeah,
no, you're basically giving a condition of what item should be allowed for collections, right? You're telling
yes, right,
limit for the dollar, and then the minimum is like it should be overdue.
yes, right. So this has to be the condition,
Okay,
because if the items are not overdue, you cannot have a collection agency following up for that,
got it.
right?
Yeah.
Correct, right. Mhm.
Right. So now, but these are only two parameters, right? For example, if the item is overdue and the amount is greater than this, what else can you have in there? Maybe you will also see if they have uh, maybe the customer has told that I will do maybe a partial payment of this amount, and but it has not been kind of uh, uh, like the promise has not been made by the customer, right? So on those cases, right, you will have more priority of follow up on that, correct? Because that means there is a likely case where it has default, maybe due to some reason or other, right? So there can be other scenarios also. There can be also like a credit score of a customer, which you will be kind of applying over here whenever you are doing this collection, right? So all these things, right? So these are kind of like this not strategy, I would say this rules for setting up this collection management is done under the basic setting,
Okay.
which follows the like first you have the basic rules Okay, maybe I will just you can use this one so it will be easier to explain. So in this, right, so first you have basically first you set up your basic rules, which I was telling, right? So based on the amount or number of due days or credit score, or if you had broken the promise, right? But each basic rule may not be applied, right? So what you have is as a combination of this all these basic rules, right? You can have collection rules, right? So let's say this is for the amount and overdue. Okay, how many days? Maybe it has to be 5 days overdue and the amount has to be more than 1000 USD. Then it will go to your collection specialist. Okay, then maybe your credit score is maybe say something like maybe 30 or 20, something like that. It is there, right? Or maybe some ratings are there. We can also follow that, or maybe you can have yeah, which I told, right, whether it has any promise to pay which has been broken or something like that in those cases, right? So the collection rules can be based can be a combination of multiple basic rules. Okay, so I'm just drawing up the concept first and then we will see how to configure this in the system.
Hey, can
Okay,
I ask you a question?
yeah, sure.
So when like let me ask, when you say collection rules, like if the condition, the first basic rule condition is satisfied, then
Hmm.
the collection rule can be like you reach out to the customer through email or through telephone or something like that. That is what you call it as collection rule or method.
No, no. First, I'm just defining in which cases it will we will be following up for collection.
Okay.
Basic rules defines just the first level, like for example, let's say you're going to the office, right? So when you're going to the office there are certain checklists, right? So for example, whether you have taken your personal device, whether you have taken your ID card and all those things, right? So maybe you have taken your kind of office devices, that is rule 1. You have taken your ID card and all the things, these are the rule 2. And whether you have the correct transport selected for your going like for this particular activity, right? So that can be a rule 3. So the collection rules maybe is a combination of all these 3 rules. Okay,
Okay.
that is what it is now. But this is a little bit different from the collection strategy, right? So collection strategy can be to determine the prioritization.
So that is the method. Like, what is the method you are going to
Yes, right. For example, if some customer having a is having, let's say, a very low credit score, you will be always following up them first, right?
yeah, low credit score and if the overdue amount is there.
Yeah, overdue amount is high and there is a low credit score, then them you will be following up first, rather than those who are having a high credit score. Even let's say they are having the balance is much higher,
Yeah,
right?
got it. Yeah, understood.
So those things has to be kind of, those are the business decisions that has to be set up using your collection strategy. Okay,
Okay. So the
so
collection rules will be assigned to a strategy, right?
yes, right,
Eventually.
correct, absolutely. So now, for example, here, right, if you see, uh so it's very kind of, it's very systematic, I would say, and it's very well configured, I would say, from SAP standpoint. So what happens is, and the good thing is these are all kind of pre-configured steps which SAP provides. So but we will also see how we can bring about variations in that as per the different business rules we may have, right? So this is what I was discussing about. So I was discussing about collection strategies. So it will have 3 steps. First, you need to define your basic rules. Okay, so once you define your basic rules, right, so that means you know, like, these are the conditions, the preconditions which are satisfied, then you will be going to the collection rule, which can be a combination of multiple basic rules. And then you maybe strategize, like, which are the collection rule which you must follow first, and then maybe which will be followed next, and all those things, correct? And and those customers which fulfills the rules are distributed to the work lists, right? Because I think there are also certain kind of maybe scenarios, right, where maybe some collection agencies, they are like they're kind of very stringent in their follow up, and maybe like their recovery rate is much higher, right? So certain customers you might be willing to allocate to this particular collection agency, and certain will be maybe to some maybe in-house collection agency, like for which the risk is much lower, right? So it will be, so those kinds of thing also, based on the strategy that you have, you can work, you can prepare the work lists. Okay, now let's see like what SAP has already provided for this basic rule. So basically, as we have told, right? So we have activated the collections management using kind of like business transaction event, right? So under this event, right? So I will maybe make it a little bit kind of technical, because these are also some important things which are required to be known, right? So there we have something which is known as the class. Okay, so for example, in this basic rules, right? For example, when we are going, right, so SAP has pre-configured certain kind of rule structures or class, right, for your which can be used to configure the checks for this basic rules, right? What do we mean by that? So with this, right, so you can see this as a part of your collection management, right? Uh, it has developed all these basic rules under one package, which is this one, UDM strategy. And under this UDM strategy, right, it has the kind of all the basic rules which are available under this like basis rule IDs. Okay, so that means like you can see that we have some names of this rule 1, rule 2, rule 3, right? So all this rules will means, right, so for example, there will be certain pre-checks or condition which has to be fulfilled before this kind of basic rule is met, right? So these are all configured under this UDM strategy. Why I'm telling this as a maybe as a functional consultant, why do you need to know this? Is because, like for example, there are certain, if you need to introduce a new strategy, or maybe in certain cases, right, where you uh, maybe require some additional field which needs to be called up for a check, right? So in those cases, you will need to inform maybe that, okay, so this needs to be added under this particular package, and maybe the running number was 14 earlier, you can have 15 as a next implementation name. Okay, so yeah, so sometimes you would need to maybe it's better to know this per thing end to end, right? So that's the reason it's like, so it's better to keep a note of this package that you are using for all this UDM basis rules. Now let's see, how do we define this, right? So what was our first condition? That the items should be this
Or
will be due by more than maybe certain days, and it should be due by a certain amount, right? So let's see if I can copy over this one or not. Okay, so I can either copy or I can create a new one. But what SAP has already provided, these are the basic rule structure which SAP had provided. You are free to add more, like, but if you need to add more, those can be done by basically by the this basic rule structure can be done only by the technical person, because as you can see, these are all certain set of rules which has been already configured in this place, right? So it is not I would say, it is not kind of it's a technical object which has to be pre-configured before we start using it. But we are free to use any of those SAP basic rule structure which has been provided. Yes, I will just pause for a minute. You can let me know if you have any questions.
How do you understand the existing rule? What was there inside?
Yeah, so all those existing
What
rules, right? So
read?
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
so what so how do you understand, right? Yes, very good question on this one. So what we have is, whenever you create any basic rule, right, you need to reference a rule structure. Now what does this contain? Let me just show it to you right away. So whenever you create a new basic rule, as we all know, right, the SAP, whenever we create any custom rule, it has to start with Z, right? So we just use this, and then what happens is, as an attribute from this basic rule, there are certain things which gets copied. What do we mean by the attributes? Is like, for example, here. So these are the filter criteria. Like basically, as I have told you, right, you must transfer your open items or what on for which you need to follow up from your AR to the collection management, right? So it will only maybe if you select this basic rules over there, right? So then when the work list gets generated for the maybe the collection specialist, right, it will only consider those with amount greater than maybe 10,000, and the number of days overdue will be specifying that in your
Where do you
collection strategy.
specify those, that amount and number of days? That is specified in the selection parameters by the collection agent?
No, when you generate the work list, I will show that as well to you.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, so when we go to that, so here, right, as you can see, right, you specify in the basic rule, what you specify is the amount, correct? So this will be the minimum amount, and then this will be the number of days. Now you can see there are two fields for selection, right?
If you want to add another Z field, for example, right, then probably you have to go with your Z rule structure.
Yeah, right. Yes, right. So for example, if we do, we cannot add in anything under this basic rule structure.
Hmm.
Okay, so so basically, if you see for all this, there are already certain fields which are
Right, right.
there. So SAP has already pre-configured all this different rule structure based on the needs. But in case you need some additional, right? So because every business is different, so they might need additional one. So you can configure the new rule structure
Okay, got it.
over here, but that has to be, but in order to do that, right, you need to know like under which package and what will be the next running number.
Okay, yeah, that'll be through a new class and also it'll be pure ABAP. Okay, got it.
Yeah, it's a pure, so it will not be a separate class, I would say, but it will be uh, under this package you will be having an, it's just like another body,
Okay.
right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so just a minute, I didn't save this. So basically on this note, right, so where we were trying to create a new basic rule. So as we go by the condition that we have, so first we are selecting those amount which are, so our first basis is based on the amount and the number of overdue days,
Mhm.
okay, which is that BR003. So now you will tell like SAP has already provided all the basic rules, why do you need to create a separate one, right?
Mhm.
So the reason is this one, right? So either because SAP provides with this options, right, either it can have a single field option or you can have multiple selection option. So there are different meaning of all these fields, right? So if you go into the details of here, single field means like there is, you do not provide a range. So it can be sometimes business also needs to provide, right, if the amount is within this range to this range, then only it will be allocated to this collection specialist. If the amount goes maybe more than 5 million USD or something like that, it will directly go to this particular collection agency when the number of overdue days is more than 10 or something. Okay, so there
Okay.
can be different strategies of collections which can be adopted. So that's the reason basically you might need, even when you are not implementing a new rule structure, you might still need to create a new basic rule, right? For example, I can mention over here that there is, I will be only maintaining a single field. That means I won't mention a range for selection, but rather I will just stick to a single field. That means the amount has to be more than 5,000, right? For sending this to the collection specialist. If I do remove both this option, right? No multiple selection and a single field. So that means that we can specify any value. Either it can be a single field or it can be a range. I can also select multiple values as my filter. All those things can be done. So this kind of maybe flexibility we obtain using these two options. Okay, you remember whenever when you prepare a functional specification document for an for the technical person, they will definitely ask, right, whether you want this as a parameter or a single selection field, and also whether it's a radio button or checkbox, something kind of something like
Mhm.
that, right? So it basically this is what we are doing. So in this place, we are specifying whether it's kind of a single field selection, or we have kind of a range of selection, or we allow multiple values to be executed together, or something like that, right? So it's kind of I would say it's kind of a function specification for your basic rule setup. Okay,
Okay.
so let's see if this. Okay, so now I have set up my basic rule, let's say for the amount and number of days, right? So next you want to also check, maybe if the customer, maybe you're trying to reach out to the customer, but the customer is not responding, or maybe he's disconnecting the phone, something like that, right? So in those cases also there can be like what type of contact has been made, you can store, and how many number of days he is rejecting. So there can be different reasons, right? Maybe a customer is overseas and he does not want to pick up the phone in those cases. And also there can be cases where he wants to avoid this follow-up notices, right? So all see also on those all on all these cases, right, I think you would need to define your collection strategy for that particular customer. So that's the reason we have this to config over here. So basically these are also pre-configured rules that we are using, like what type of contact has been made with the customer, and after how many days the item has been overdue, then you made this contact, right? So either you can so what you can do is I can also do one more change over here. Let's try. Let's say I don't need the number of days after which. So if I just want to know that, because the number of days of outstanding I'm already getting from one of the other rules, so I do want to delete this rule. I can also do that. I can only base on the contact type and the number of overdue days I am already getting in my previous rule, right? So I can also maybe add or remove. Not add, I would say remove. We can do add. I can only do if we have this under the field sets. Okay, is this part clear, or I think it's,
My
yeah.
next question to you. So, I'm like the last rule we had like the overdue amount and number of days, right? So let's say
Right.
I want to bring the overdue amount here also. I don't see it in the drop down. So are you setting
Yeah.
this up somewhere else so that it
Yeah.
appears in the
Yeah, that's a very good question. So that means your like the condition can be a combination of multiple basic rules. Is that correct?
yeah,
Then,
but I
right?
just want to have it in, let's say, overdue amount here.
Yes. So first of all, in this UDM structure, right,
Mhm.
the overdue amount is not there in this one, but
Okay,
it does not limit you, because what SAP does is you have already defined this basic rule ZBR0020, right? Now what I will do is, then you define, so these are kind of
got it, got it. So
collection.
you
Yeah,
let's two rules. Okay, so
yeah,
that structure, right? That structure, can we go to SC11 and see like what are the fields that are allowed for each of those structure?
yeah, you can definitely see this.
So there's
So
basically a structure. That's what you're saying. So
yeah, so this has to be the base structure. So basically SAP has already provided base structure, and there are certain kind of checks also, right? For example, here you can see broken promises to pay, right? So that means how many times the customer has maybe promised and they have failed to fulfill it, and for what amount.
okay,
Let's say the customer has promised to pay $3,000, $3,200, and he has paid maybe 3,150, right? So it can be so it is not kind of a serious violation, right, on those cases, because he has already, maybe he has missed the amount which he needs to pay or something like that, right, on the notice. But let's say he has already kind of promised to pay 5,000 USD and he has not paid that on that date, right? So that means it's kind of a scenario where you need to ensure that the customer is followed up promptly, so that he maybe uh, at least he at the next promise he fulfills it.
Okay. I have a follow-up
Something
question.
like,
So,
yeah,
uh,
yeah. So the follow-up procedure will be different for those two customers,
no,
right?
I have a question. So my question
Yeah,
is like this structure all are like standard SAP structure. So I
yeah.
would assume all these are going to have the standard fields. So can you first do an F4 on the field name? So what are the other
Oh,
fields you have
oh,
in this?
here. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, let me show it here this way, right? So for example, if you want to add a new field, right, it will only give you this option.
Yeah. So because that is what is defined in the structure. Say I
Yeah,
want
right.
to create a structure with the some custom field. So that's
Yeah.
something we can do it, right?
So yeah, definitely you can do it, but for that you will again need to add a new kind of body under this particular package.
So I can create a whole new package and create my own
No, not a whole new package. So package is already provided. You just
Mhm.
need to so here, right?
Oh,
These
in
are
the
all
package.
the, yeah. These
Okay.
are
So I
all
create a
which are
whole new.
provided,
Okay.
right? So under this, right, for example, there are so many 25 rules which are there, right? Under that, you can maybe add in one more.
26 or
Right?
whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. So because like if I'm going to copy the 25, I'm going to get only those two fields like broken promise and the overdue amount in the F4 drop down for the field name,
mm,
right?
yeah.
If I copy
Hmm.
the existing rule. So if I need new fields like that are specific to Splunk, then I should create a new structure that would allow us to do the
Yes,
bring
right. So
bring fields in this.
for example, right, for one of the organizations, right, maybe I will again pick up one from the airlines only. So they had a rule where they wanted to maybe also check about the kind of the sectors they're operating in, right? For example, whether it is cross continent or maybe for long hauls, short hauls, medium hauls, or on those kinds of flights also, they wanted to have a different strategy for follow up, right? So that's the reason. So you can you might be required to add some new collection rules, or maybe some new basic rules need to be introduced, right? So for that, right, definitely the route is you need to under your UDM package, you need to add one more kind of body
Okay, it's a
check.
new band. Okay, so that's
Yeah.
more that's mostly a technical above has to do it.
Yeah,
We have to.
but the input from your side, you need to
Yeah, yeah.
inform like which field is required and what types of values can be specified over here.
Yes, yes, that I got it. That part I got it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Clear. So this is about the basic rules. Any questions on the basic rule at the moment? So the basic rules is kind of you are just defining the building blocks, and how you use this basic rule will be the collection rules over here. Okay.
And we can have within one collection rule, we can have more than one basic rule, is it?
Yeah, definitely. Yes. Right.
Okay.
So now let's say we are doing this, right? So let's say Z, we are, we'll just play around, right, with this. So
Mhm.
new collection rule, scenario one. Okay. Under this, right, so you can select which are the basic rules which will apply, right? So you can also select which are the basic rule which has to be fulfilled and which need not be. Let's say I select ZBR003 and ZBR20, right? So this has to be the prerequisite. This may not be the prerequisite, right? So first of all, the amount and the number of days must be there, but this is also kind of another condition. So it is not a must have. It is kind of so if this condition is fulfilled, then after that it is this it will also check for this condition, right? So there is a difference between mandatory and an additional check, right? So that is what is specified over here. So you can see in a collection rule you can have combination of multiple basic rules, right? So it can be more. So you can have 4 or 5 basic rules which can be configured.
So the final output, Jeet, right? So once all these basic rules are met, then only it goes into the collection list, right? That's the
Yes, right. Yeah, correct.
okay. Okay.
So basically, the objective is not to follow up on all the items, but focus on those items and do the follow up,
Mhm.
right? So that's why we use this collection management module. So now after this slide, so you're clear about this basic rules and the collection rules. So what is this basic rules? The basic rules is just like the defining the kind of operators, I would say, and then you are adding up these operators one by one on the collection rules, right? So you know like which will be a suitable strategy, maybe conditions which has to be fulfilled before you do the follow up using them, right? Now, as I have told you here, right? So first you define the basic rules, and then you define your collection rules over here. And after that, right, what you do is here. So here it is just like just which we have done. So we have defined a collection rule, and we have mentioned like it's a combination of which basic rules or something like
Hey, sorry to
that.
cut you down. I mean,
Yeah,
like, so you asked that question, right? What I mean, like, now you created your own rule and you created your own basic rule and own collection
yeah.
rule. At the end of the day, I wanted to see your own collection strategy and how it translates, and then one open item, and then see like how this collection strategy that we created is coming into play.
Okay.
Is it
Uh,
doable?
yeah, definitely. We should be doing this. So yeah, so we will be doing that definitely. And what we'll do is we will, when we do the simulation on the customer open items, right? We'll just maybe book one invoice, and we'll just try to see a simulation of that, right? Just a moment.
Hey, Jeet.
Yeah,
Hi. Sorry, I wasn't able to unmute. Now I am able to unmute. I have a question
yeah.
regarding yes option regarding the
Hmm.
prerequisites. We can make more than one rule prerequisite, right?
Yeah, definitely. So you can have. Let's do that right away. So if you want to have, let's say we define something ZBR ZCR, or yeah, we can name it anything. So here we can add a new entry as well, and sorry, okay, and we can make this as well as prerequisite. So we
So
can make
how
all the
does,
three as,
how does the strategy would work when you have two prerequisites and one is not prerequisite?
yeah. So that means uh, it works like let's say you have uh, maybe in this case, right? So you have a customer has broken promises, as well as it has individual items which are more than 5,000 and 30 days overdue, right? So those, in those cases it will be followed up. And also there is like this is an additional condition which is not a prerequisite to be met. So it is kind of an additional condition which it will be checked as a part of this collection rule, whether there is a successful customer contact or not. It is kind of, I would say, it is this command and this command, and then so
So this
it is
would be
kind of
an OR command.
yeah, something like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
So in this case, right, the first two rules are met, and let's say the third rule is not met, Jeet, right? So the
Yeah.
customer contact was not successful. So will
Mhm.
it still make it to the collection rule if it's successful or not? Is that what we are saying?
Yeah, so it will give you the option to check, right? For example, whether you like, so it will be not specific. So that means whether it is made or not, it will still appear in your collection work list.
Nice. Okay.
Okay, then you can define further whether, okay, so if the customer contact has been done via telephone or something like that, in those cases only should be a part of your work list. you can define that in the filter criteria subsequently.
Okay.
It is just like when we execute the FBL 5N report, right? You have put certain condition, let's say open items, clear items, all items, right? Open items you have selected and with some certain assignment. Now
Filter.
what you're doing, once you execute the report, you also want to filter further on the document type.
Mhm.
Just like that. You can imagine in that way.
Okay.
Okay. Clear with this one? The collection, what is collection rule and what is the basic rules?
Yeah, got it. I got it.
Okay. And then what we have is basically here you configure the collection strategies. So what is collection strategy? So as I was just going through here, right? The collection strategy is basically a combination of collection rules, right? So for example, here you can see previously what we did, we had combined basic rules to define the collection rules, right? So collection strategy is one step higher than the collection rules, where you combine your all your collection rules into one strategy. What is the business usage of this? Is like, for example, as I've told you, right? So you have maybe defined a collection strategy for those customers which are having very low credit rating, right? And you also have a collection rule which is defined for those customers which are having kind of high credit rating. There can be a scenario where a customer which is having a very high credit rating, but yeah, they have still like failed to fulfill their promises, right? So they will belong to one particular risk class. And then there are certain customers, right, who are maybe with low credit rating and they have also maybe just not able to meet their promises at all. So they will be having a different risk class, right? The chances of retrieval from either of them is it's different, right? So that's the reason you need to have different collection strategy for each one of them. It can again depend on the amount, right? For some very high value contracts, right, you should be maybe very particular on the time on which you are receiving the payments for. So in those cases, right, I think we need to have different collection strategy for them. And yeah, and so, and you can see here, maybe not here, I will just show it on the screen in SAP. So let's say I create Z, right? I create this strategy. In which currency you are doing this, right? And then you can have this defined, like which correction rules you are applying. So let's say we are applying ZBR 0020. So you can see also the description. So it has, actually we have not changed the description, so it is coming as there are broken promises to pay, but there can be it can be different also based on if we have maybe modified the collection rule definition, then it would have come accordingly, right? So now here you can see the prerequisite and the conditions which has to be met, right? So I was talking about the select options and that no multiple selections. I have kept it blank, so that's the reason
Hey,
you can
how did
see.
you come to this pop-up screen? Can you show one more time?
Yes, sure. So here you have this
Okay.
okay, in this place, so you can mention it. So let's say either you can mention that it can be a range, 5,000 to 10,000, something like 100,000, right? And the days overdue, right? Here you can see it is a single option. It is coming. Why it is coming as a single option? Because I have maintained it that way. So it has to be more than 20 days overdue. Let's see that. right? So we'll just validate each understanding one by one. So this is, just remember we have configured Z collect, and let's revisit again here. See, here is a single field option, right? If I remove this, right, no multiple selection, it will still allow you to have multiple selection over there for that single field. So now let me go back again. And where is my correction strategy? Here, right? So it was Z collect, correct? Now this was this, right? Here you can see it has changed, right?
Mhm.
Here you can see it is not a range, it is still a single field, but it allows to put multiple values, right? You got it, this one. So that means I can just
Yes,
put
yes. Yeah.
it. So it is kind of like very easily configurable, this one. And yes, and you can also define all the prerequisites and conditions at this place. Okay. Anything, any part which is not, yeah.
Yeah, so that range is like, can you go back to the range screen, Ji?
Yes, sure.
Set up a range, right? The number of due. So if let's say the overdue is 20, right? Any overdue beyond 20 days, right?
Yeah.
Will be shown. Let's say if you put 20 to 60,
Yeah,
it
so
will.
that, yeah, that's also because some companies, right, have the strategy, like let's say those belonging to healthcare, right? So in those cases, sometimes what they do is they only follow up on items which are within that year, and
Oh,
those which are greater than 1 year of outstanding, right? So then they have a separate follow-up strategy for them, right?
okay.
So that's the reason. What you can do is here you can provide like maybe a range over here. So if you want to put a range, I need to like uncheck that single field selection,
Okay.
right? Right. So now it is a single field selection. Let's say we go back over here.
No, no, I got it. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. So same way here, level of promises, maybe 3 level of promises which is broken or something like that,
Mhm.
right? Here you can also see what type of contact was done, whether it's a call or a visit or running notice, email or correspondence. It's quite interesting how maybe the system interact with each other, so that like all these records are saved over here. And then when we go through the work list, right, so that time also we will see what type of information are entered over there. So it will be it's quite interesting how, like, what is the level of information which can be stored in the system.
Mhm.
Okay, any questions till now? So here you can see, I think there should be a question from your side is over here. You can see here you have already defined the overdue periods, right? And here also you have defined the overdue periods. What is the meaning of each one of them? Correct. So this is basically the first filter criteria for your execution, and this is the second, right? So what I mean by that is, let's say we go into
So one
FBL5N.
one basic question, Jeet, sorry.
Yeah,
So we can you go back to that screen? Yeah.
yeah, sure. Yeah, tell me.
So here you define the overdue and things like that, right? So system automatically. So here what happens, right? So we create an invoice and automatically
Mm-hmm.
based on the payment terms there is an invoice due date, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we say, let's say the invoice due date is July 11th, right?
Mm-hmm.
From today plus 30 days is what the overdue period here means. So System that so system automatically looks at that field, the invoice due date field is
Overdue
what.
means like there is a, you remember in FBL5 and you have certain indicators.
Uh-huh.
So in FBL5N, let's say we talk about, maybe we just take any open item, okay? Yeah, so these are the open items, right? So here, right? So you can see all these items are overdue. So now
Okay.
if I just wanted to check, right, let's say we find the next due date. Okay, so you can see it was due on this dates, right? So from this date, it is running overdue.
Okay. So it looks at this field, net due date standard. Okay.
Yes, right. Yeah.
Got it.
In,
Net
in,
due date.
in FICA, the report is a different report, but it works in the same way. Venkat.
Yes,
Oh,
right.
I see. Okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah, because I think in FICA you have mostly these are not kind of fixed customer. It is a kind of contract accounts, right? So that's the reason I think there is a
Yeah.
different, right? Yeah.
Okay.
But the logics are same. Yeah,
Mhm.
you were there. So okay. So yeah, so this is basically like the first level of a config that we have gone through. So today our thing that we had planned to cover, we have actually finished that. So we actually plan to cover this basic rules today over here. So the just to sum it up, right? So in the basic rules, so first we know, right, how to activate the collection management. That was our first thing that we have come to know, and then for which company codes your collection management is active. Now when you maybe define the line items which are transferred to collection management, so for that you had to go through three process. First you define the basic rules, right, and then you define the collection rule over here, and at the end you kind of set up your collection strategies. Okay, so this will be kind of a three-step process, I would say, to define your collection strategy. So in the tomorrow's class, what we can do is we can see a simulation of kind of how I will create some new open items as well, and we'll just maybe see how those items gets transferred as per the different collection strategies. And then maybe on that we will develop some work list and work on the different things. So just to go back to our
Yeah, I have a question. So
yeah.
can you go to that strategy screen
Yes, sure.
uh, in the SAP? Yeah. So here you are still defining only the condition, right? You are not telling what is the strategy for this collection should be, who should be collecting this, or like how they should collect. That is not being. You're
Yeah,
not.
yeah. So that will be a part of your work list generation. So it again depends, right? So for example, let's
Mhm.
say you're in an organization where which is working with three collection agencies, right? Let's say it's Thomson Reuters, maybe some DNB or something, some collection, three collection agencies you're working with, right? And then there are different rules for allocating to them, right? So you set up the rules over here, and then when you generate the work list, right? So there you will see there it will prompt, or you will have an option as well to determine the correct maybe agencies to which you want to outsource,
So you don't do it in the strategy.
and not in the strategy yet. Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying it's in a different place.
Yeah, it's in the generate work list, that option there. Like
Okay.
if you want it to generate over here, right, for example, it will automatically propose the collection specialist at this moment. You can do again via the basic rules setup, right? So if you want, let's say, a field for the collection agency which is there, and then you add in that under the collection rules, and then you can add it here as well. It depends how you want to proceed.
But again, it's a prerequisite, right?
Yeah,
Say,
yeah.
if I see 10 open items in an account, I want this 10
Mm.
open items to go to two different persons based
Yeah,
on my rule. So
yeah.
that you are not, you are saying that that is not in the configuration, that is in the work.
That is not I have not shown this as a part of this configuration, so I will do that as a part of my general work list. But having said that, right, it doesn't prevent you to set up that as a config as well. So you can do that as well under your basic rule setup, adding a new field for the collection agency, right?
Maybe I'm not sure. I'm like, you need to, I'm not sure how you do that, because like those are two different things. Because like all this time we are defining only the prerequisite. In the
Yes,
rule
right.
also, we are defining only the prerequisite. We are not
Yes, right.
telling what if this
Hello.
I think we lost you.
Yeah. No worries. We'll just wait for him.
Hey, I'm like, are you not able to hear me,
Now,
Venkat?
Yeah. Now it's better.
No, no. What I'm saying is like all this config, you are only defining the prerequisite, right? You are not
Yes, right.
telling what is the end should be. Like, so where do
Yeah,
you define?
because the thing is, yeah. So you need to understand. So this is kind of the checks that are done, and if you want to assign the work, that is done through the generation of the work list and assigning to the collection groups. So that is
Mhm.
a separate step, because that is the purpose of having a collection manager, right? The collection manager is responsible for routing the items to the correct collection specialist, right?
So you are saying like daily morning, the collection manager should come and route it to the
Yeah,
collection specialist.
yeah. So basically, every day morning, right? So there will be a work list which will be generated, and the collection manager's duty is to ensure that the work list is allocated to the correct person. Either
And
you
then
can automate.
then there is no I'm like no artificial intelligence here, right? So I'm like I want see I know a person who is going to work on this customer and who will be responsible for this collection, which is
Hmm.
overdue for more than 10 days, and then like it has so on so amount range.
Hmm,
Why
hmm.
why can't I automatically tell the system to assign that open item to a collection agent rather than a collection manager should come and do that part?
Yeah, so we can also discuss how you can achieve that as well, right? So it is not
Okay.
something which is not achievable. So there is already like, so this is the role of a collection manager, which I was telling. So if you want to automate that particular role, like for example in this case, there won't be any manual interaction, but rather it will be a system based rule where, let's say, these conditions are met, then it will be directly allocating to this
I
collection
mean, that is
specialist.
what we need. I mean, we don't want this thing where a human should come and say this should go to person X and this should go to person Y. It should
Yeah,
be
okay.
fully systematic. We define the condition and we tell this is the end output that it should, like if these conditions are adhered, it should go to this person, then it should follow that.
Okay. Okay, noted. Yeah, so I think I will also go through that particular bit, how you can achieve that. Not to worry.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, that will be interesting. Yeah, that will be interesting to
Yeah.
see how it works.
Okay, that's cool.
actually,
So,
that's interesting,
so
Palani, because Ted's team today, what they do is, you're right. So they go and figure out this list manually, right? Then they assign all these collection lists to some collection specialist,
Yeah,
right?
we
So
don't want that, right? We are
correct,
doing the
correct.
same thing again.
Yeah, that's all manual today. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a good observation that you have. So maybe what we will also request to make it more kind of productive for both of us, right? So these are some of the scenarios which you can list out at the end of each session, right? And then maybe make a note of this so that we know, at least if like I'm sure we are not able to implement that because it's kind of a test system, but at least you will know the path through which we can maybe kind of achieve this objective, right?
Mm.
Okay, so
And
I
also,
think,
if you can
yeah,
just focus more, just wanted to bring it out, right? So once these work lists all will be will be shown somewhere in the Fiori app or something, right?
yeah.
I'd like to see, if there is more dashboard kind of a view. I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
where.
definitely. Yeah. So first of all, my config I wanted to do through this because here I can see more options. That so basically, if I do it by the few details, right? So then there will be certain options that you will be missing out, which I
Yeah.
don't want.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, we just wanted to more interest in the app as well, right?
Yeah, and then basically when you generate the work list, you will be seeing how many collections has been done by this particular specialist. You will get a graphical view also of all those
Right.
things, all the dashboards. So that's yeah, that should be there. So it should not be a
Okay.
problem.
And other thing is like whatever collection strategy we are creating, I would like to see some end to end. So how the
Yeah. So I need to
collection.
create some open items for that. So because so
Yes,
that
yeah.
to simulate that for you. So that's the reason I could not. But today's objective that we had for the today's training we have already completed. So basically we know the underlying config about the basic rule setup and the collection strategies. In the next session, maybe we'll just to see how this gets allocated from AR into the CM module, right?
Okay.
Okay.
I think Chit, what we mean by end to end is, yeah, we can set up one rule, either
Mhm.
from scratch or copying, and how it actually works in practice, maybe with some examples. And I know you
Yeah.
already mentioned that you need to have some open items created for that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So that's right, Anjali. So we will be doing that.
And you will
Yeah.
also be focusing on what data needs to be maintained in the master data business partner, right?
Yeah. You need that, right? Or you do not?
Yes. So
Because
yeah,
I
we just wanted to understand what all need to be done in the
uh,
master data.
okay, sure. So yeah, so we already have the org structure set up. So what I will do is maybe I will also show it to you on the master setup, right? Maybe what are the field which needs to be maintained so that the data flows. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's anything else you have for me for today, or else we just maybe meet up tomorrow so we go through the next part of the simulation.
Thank you for attending the session. I hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget to visit our Vimeo page and follow for more upcoming videos.